For GateWorld.net, I'm David Reed here at Cheyenne Mountain Entertainment, and I'm here with the lead animator of Stargate Worlds, Carl Coss. Carl, thank you for being with us.
No problem.
Today.
My pleasure.
What are you working on today, by chance?
Today I'm working on the Jaffa female walk.
Oh. How long does something like that take?
Walk right. Well, you know, the initial animation will take a couple days, depending on what it is. I mean, some of the smaller loops could take less than a day, but like a cycle, like a movement cycle, you know, you want it to be really nice and smooth and look good, because that's what you see all the time when you're moving. So
this is just one walk cycle.
Yeah, and so it can take a couple days, but then you have to, you know, give that to every other character. You also have to do all the directions, so it kind of exponentially grows off of that one and fundamental animation that you do.
So let's say she stops or turns right or turns around.
Right. Well, and just while the character is running, you know, if a character starts to go left or right, it has to blend with the other animations there. So because you want to have it so they go all the different directions and everything, and it all blends together. It looks like their feet are sticking. So
how many different alternates are there?
Well, there's 4 directionals for every cycle, and then there's walk and run, and we possibly might have like a sprint, but I don't know. That's up to systems.
That's amazing. And so every different type of character in the game has to have a different walk.
Yep. And then also there's the crouching, so there's stance. If you're doing a crouch walk, it's different than a standing walk. So just with movement, you're talking, you know, by the end, maybe a couple hundred things just with the
one character. And how many characters are you planning on animating?
Well, as far as like over the whole game?
The whole game.
Playable and non-playable?
Characters, NPCs, robotic, human?
Probably somewhere between 75 and 100. I mean, that's a really hard guess at this point.
Holy cow.
Who knows? I mean, there's,
right.
You know, there's upwards of, you know, there's each gender, you know, for the playable characters and stuff like that, except for the Asgard, of course. But.
Yeah. And so each of these have to be approved. Each of these walks have to be approved based on the personality of the...
Yeah, and we do, just to save time, we do start with, you know, we start with one walk and we transfer to another character so that we have the fundamental movement there, one walk that we really like or whatever. Mm-hmm. Or if it's a female, then we'll transfer a female walk that we've already done, and then we tweak it for this new character. So we're not starting from scratch every time.
Okay.
Which helps save time. And sometimes we will start from scratch if it's really necessary. But if something's close already, we can transfer it over and just tweak it for the proportion changes or the attitude change or whatever. So.
Something like the Asgard walk, which has already been animated by the show. Are you allowed to contact them and ask?
Well, we can. I mean, the Asgard have never been seen in combat, so that's what's going to be exciting, is that we get to do that. Now, it's going to be a challenge to make it so they don't look, you know, kind of funny or awkward or stupid. Yeah. But we've actually had a bunch of cool ideas, and I think we're going to do real well at it. It's going to be a challenge, but the walking, we have some liberties, right? Because you've seen them walk on the show, but really only around a laboratory or on a ship. I mean, if they're out walking, you know, to get from point A to point B, they're probably going to go a little faster, or you know, walk a little bit more. But beyond walking, you know, the Asgard have, you know, all their matter beaming technology, so I don't think they would exert themselves that much. So we're kind of going in that direction with a lot of their stuff. Anything that they'd really exert themselves, we're going to do some cool sort of Asgard in-character stuff, you know, for that.
So it's not just objects. You'll also be responsible for animating like the beaming effect.
Well, I mean, there's if an effect needs some heavy animation, then yeah, we can help out with it. But generally, the art department is doing all the effects and stuff like that. But we, you know, sometimes we'll see an effect and we'll be like, you know, to make it look more real, you should do this or this, you know, and that'll help them out. So, but yeah, as far as the effects go, it's mostly their bag. So.
Okay. Wow. How did you get involved with Cheyenne Mountain Entertainment?
The art director, Howard Line, is a really good friend of mine, and I've actually worked with Howard at a few other companies, including a company that we had ourselves that was Professor Fogg's Workshop, that we made children's games and some budget games. It was pretty fun. And so I've known Howard for a long time, and when he got the art director position, he referred me here. So I mean, I owe it to Howard. You know,
a good deal.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome. So. It's good. I mean, it is. You know, a small valley here. You know, there's only been like a few companies through Phoenix, and so there's a good group of people here that all know each other, and we kind of just like hop around to the different companies. But you know, this is the best opportunity I've had, and it's really exciting that Howard got involved, and then I could get involved. So.
Had you seen Stargate before coming here?
I've seen the movie, and I saw it in the theater, and I owned the DVD, and loved it. I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. I did like the movie a lot, and I don't watch a lot of TV, so when I saw the show, I would see clips of it or a friend watching or something like that. I was like, you know, it looks typical TV show or whatever. So I wasn't too into it. But interestingly enough, you know, as soon as I got the job, I was pretty excited to watch them. And
you have a reason to watch them.
You know, and I wanted to know too, so I could be able to chat with people about it. And of course, I should know because I'm doing the animation for the game. So I started watching them, and you know, it didn't take long to really get into it. It's actually really well done, and for all their, you know, maybe production budget deficits at the beginning, it's gotten really cool. And the whole overall story arc is pretty epic, and I do like that. And I think disconnected from the TV without commercials and stuff. I've been watching it all on DVD or, you know, just in one sitting, and so it's more like a movie to me, and I think that helps too. But I love it now, and I'm watching Atlantis now and everything, so it's really exciting.
Awesome, great. What does your job involve on a day in, day out basis? Well, you're also a manager.
Depends on the day. Yeah, there's a lot of meetings. There's always, you know, I have to keep my animators busy and give them work. You know, a lot of scheduling and meetings. But I do like to do some animation myself if I can.
Right.
You know, I'd love to do it all the time. But at the same time, it's really fun to be involved with all the management stuff and be able to like help direct the schedule so that we can be on time for things and avoid, you know, working crazy hours, and then also be able to really have a say in kind of how the game looks and feels, and you know, be involved in those kind of decision-making meetings, and be able to come up with the style of animation and, you know, how we're going to animate things like the Asgard and stuff like that, and really how I think they should be, and present that, and then, you know, get the feedback from what everyone else thinks. But, you know, day to day, there's a few scheduling meetings. We might have a meeting to decide something about the animation system, or the engineers need us to format our animations in a different way, or something like, you know, where are we going to keep the weapons? You know, when are they stored on people's backs, in bags? You know, that kind of thing. Just decisions. There's you know, tons of decisions like that that go into all the stuff, and the animation system has to be pretty early on. Has to be pretty laid out, because, you know, like I said, one movement, you know, for a walk cycle, there's, you know, 30 or 40 animations that are based on that. And so if you change something down the road, you're changing hundreds of animations, and possibly like your animation system. So it's been a challenge, an exciting challenge to like come in here and like start locking all that stuff down so that we can get a more and more solid idea of everything that we're going to need. And so that way, when unknowns do pop up, you know, they're not as like, you know, mind shattering, you know, or world shattering. But so yeah.
One of the things that irritates me a little bit, being a World of Warcraft player myself, you know, I'll stop in the middle of a territory and watch an NPC walk around, you know, and he's, let's take an alligator, for instance, like in Lac Modan, and he's walking in one direction, and then he stops, and then he turns around instantly and walks the other way. Now, are we working to prevent that in our game?
Well, where we can. I mean, there's going to be a lot of things that I want. I mean, one of the things I've seen in a lot of MMOs is like there's a little less attention to detail because there's so much quantity, and that's definitely a challenge for us too. But there's a lot of places you can kind of like, you know, hedge that back a little bit, and you know, so in an instance like that, you might see that in our game, because, you know, if we have you know 75 monsters to do or more, you know, and there's a limited amount of time, you know, you're talking thousands of animations, and you just can't fill in little gap animations for all of them like that. But we can do things like, you know, make sure they have like a turn or something, or they like slide around, or where you know, a character's behavior will prevent it from actually flipping around all the way. Or when you see characters that like do things all the time, that are, well, you see the characters you see more and more basically will hopefully have less of that. So we'll do things, you know, we'll prioritize things as like sort of a percentage of how often will you see this, how big of a part of the game will it be, and then we kind of flesh things out more that you'll see more often.
Okay.
And a lot of stuff with the player characters, we're trying to fill in most of that stuff, so they look really solid all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen some of your stuff. It already looks pretty stable, and we're still a ways away.
Yeah, it's going to be really telling when we see these things really working, you know, all the way in the game, and there's going to be a lot of tweaking and stuff like that. But it's exciting to, you know, be getting stuff in there and start to work on that. So.
Have any of your animations actually been applied to any of the realms yet? That have
well, yeah, you can run around as a character or as a couple different characters, and some of the blending is not working and stuff like that, but we've started to see things in the game and put one or two of the monsters in there. So, but nothing is. I mean, it's not. You can't actually like play it yet. I mean, you can run around and
it's not done yet.
So you can't see everything for sure, but it's nice to see stuff in there. But it's definitely also apparent that seeing things in the game is super important, because once you see it in the game, there's always stuff you want to change and make it look better and stuff like that. And a lot of stuff you can't actually say is 100% done until you finish it in the game or see it in the game, and then like, okay, well, I need to do this or this, and pull it back, and then it can look really good. So
okay, so you have to play it a lot in order to like. Do you think as the game develops?
Well, not necessarily play, but like transition, right? So we'll watch them run and run and run, and then like go run left, and then we'll watch how their feet go and stuff like that, and mess with the blending and those two animations and how they work together and stuff like that. And in every way, like standing, just crouching, and all the different transitional stuff is what really makes it believable. It's like you said, when something pops like that, it instantly pulls you out. So the more transitions, the more real it is. And so having those in between working really well and sort of like invisible to the player, but just keeping them in the game is ideal. So I mean, and that stuff you can't really test until you have them all in there working together, because we do them all separately, as loops.
Okay. So. Okay. One I doubt you're going to be able to drink a pint and then not be able to walk in a straight line in this game.
That's up to systems. I mean, it depends on how much you're going to be able to do that. If it's something that's a big part of the game, then.
But are you prepared to animate, like if someone gets shot with a bullet, they like limp or cover that section? Or
as far as like the damage goes, that's something that we just don't know yet. I mean, as far as there's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are more important to me before that, and basically, like I said, it's a list of priorities. Like, what can we do, and what are we gonna have time for, and what's important to systems, and what's important to content. And a damage thing is pretty cool, but at the same time, a lot of the damage that's going to be happening in this game is going to be like far away. And when you get hit, it might be more important if you get hit in a certain spot. But at the same time, you're just going to want to keep shooting and stuff like that. So, like I said, I mean, the attacks, a lot of the movement stuff, a lot of how players stand and look around, the deaths even, like a lot of that stuff is a higher priority than damage. So we have a limited set of impacts right now when you get hit with stuff. But again, we don't even know yet what it's going to look like in a firefight. If somebody's getting sprayed with a machine gun, do we need to do another animation for that, or can we use some of our stuff and combine it and blend it, that kind of thing. So it's all about getting the best quality like in the time allotted. So.
Okay. Well, as long as you're well underway at this point.
Yep.
Good. Okay. Why do you think Stargate is worthy of an MMO?
The same reason that it makes a great TV show. It's the Stargate. I mean, it's an instant story. Like you can go unlimited places, and you can always have something new and cool. And even though they're always going back to the same place, it's like a home base. But they're going out, and you never know what's out there. And you can have these overall story arcs that are huge, that encompass the whole galaxy. But you can have a little isolated story just on a little planet or whatever. And like a lot of MMOs, you have forest, mountains, plains.
Desert, yeah.
Right? And so here we can have like alien planets, and you can be a short trek away from like a whole different, not only area, but like a whole different planet, a whole different types, species of monsters or people or whatever, a different color sky, planets, different solar system. It's just like opens it up visually, at least, for tons of cool stuff that other MMOs I think don't have. And I think story-wise, like it'll be easier to direct players through their own, sort of individual stories by using the gate.
Like giving them a dialing address.
Right. And you can lock off places, and then you can go to certain places, and you can kind of like have a more immersive story that way.
So it's not just a matter of, like the NPC would say or something, I believe, it's in the Northeast, and you go and you discover the country. Instead, here's an address, dial it, go.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great storytelling device, the Stargate. It was genius.
Right. All right. Is there anything unique about working on this particular project as opposed to the ones you've done in the past?
Well, actually, I did work on an MMO, so I guess it's not my first, but it wasn't necessarily for a long time. But it's unique because this is one of the first things I've worked on that anybody's heard of, so that's cool. It's the biggest project I've worked on, and it's the most impressive company I've worked with, besides the one me and Howard had on our own. But that was 4 of us, so 5 of us. But Yeah, I mean it's a big deal and it's exciting and it's people have heard of it and I enjoy I actually am pretty since I've really gotten attached to the show and the characters, like it's exciting to be part of that universe, and be like adding to it, adding some content to it, and yeah, so it is a first time for me in those reasons.
Okay, what are some of the challenges you face day to day?
Oh, well, I mean, part of that is the management thing, right? So like,
yes,
it's a balancing, trying to keep them busy, keep my animators busy, and keep working myself, but also get all these important decisions that need to be made underway and these are always, dependent on other departments and people, and I need to hear what they want and what they think, and so it's a challenge every day to like really press on, even though there's still unknowns and things like that.
You keep getting pulled away from meetings. It's like, there's really no way to have a real, I'm in my groove now.
Well, I think I have a bunch of meetings, but I know Howard, and a bunch of other guys have, so I shouldn't probably even complain, but, but yeah, no, I mean, that is the challenge to keep progressing while these decisions are being made simultaneously, what I mean?
Now, you're responsible for managing 3 other people. Does management prevent you from doing, let's be truthful here, does it prevent you from doing as much of the animation as you would like to do yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd like to do all of it. No, I mean, I think it's great to be able to, balance out who's doing what, and everybody has something they want to do. So sometimes stuff that I don't want to do, someone else will want to do, and so everybody can be happy pretty much all the time. And I think that's a great part of it. But yeah, I don't actually get to do as much as I'd like. But it's a trade-off. I mean, I do enjoy making those decisions and helping the game along with my opinions, and the way I think it should look and feel, and adding that to it. And I wouldn't get that chance, if I was just animating all the time. And I enjoy scheduling because I've worked in games a while, and there's a lot of crazy management choices that some game companies may make, and with scheduling and crazy hours and stuff like that. And I ever since I've been able to schedule or help with scheduling, I've tried to make it so that doesn't happen, and help to schedule deadlines we can meet and all that kind of thing. And so it's awesome to be able to have that kind of input as well. But yeah, I do, and it ebbs and flows, right? There'll be sometimes, there's always a week where I'm like, okay, once I get all this stuff done, I can animate again, and I'm looking forward to it. But there are some days that go by where I don't get to do animation.
You obviously don't animate in a vacuum. Right. I mean, in terms of the company and everything, you have to keep everyone up to date. But in terms of your source material, where do you get your ideas? Where do you get your references?
Well, I mean, the best reference that for me, with just natural movement and stuff like that, where I start just fundamentally, it's just I just walk around, or I do the action, and I just keep track of what my body's doing and how it feels. And if we need to go to the next level, we have a camera, and we can actually film reference, film each other doing a certain motion, and keep track of what's going on, and go back to that and use it. But generally, we just do it. I mean, and it I've done it. I've done a lot of these things, like a walk cycle or run cycle, or stuff for games, a lot of times. So I mean, I can do it. Just you can kind of just start with what's in your brain, and I've walked it enough, But if it's a specific character, or if I'm really having a problem with it, then yeah, the first thing I do is just get up and walk it myself and say, what am I doing here? And usually that's plenty. But beyond that, for something specific, like for Stargate, we'll watch the show. Like for the Asgard, I was watching a lot of what they do to get an idea of what we can do and how far we can take that. And then a lot of stuff with Teal, the fighting and everything like that. We want it to feel like the show as well. But we're pushing the realism to a more stylized direction, because I think that'll be more fun. But
you can either follow the show to the letter, or follow real life, or take it in a slightly stylized direction.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And I think in games, people don't want real life. They're playing a video game.
Yeah.
And I think you can go too far with that, But I think if you go just right, you're at this sort of Hollywood area where it's sort of surreal, exaggerated, stylized to a point that's more, it's bigger and funner. So yeah.
Most of the races in Stargate are bipedal.
Right.
Does this make things easier because it's a common form?
That means 2 legs.
2 legs, yes. Walk, yes. Does it make things easier because it's a common form of locomotion, or more difficult because it's easier to spot flaws in terms of like a player?
Oh, well, I mean, yeah, it's more difficult in that sense because, yeah, I mean, everybody's a critic when it comes to human motion. If you see a human walking in some computer animated thing or something, you know, and it's bad, you know it, even if you're not an animator.
I don't walk like that.
Because everybody knows how people walk. I mean, even just like subconsciously, like if you see it, you know, even if you know, if you don't, if you've never thought about it before, something's not right, right? And so it's difficult in that respect. But like I said, because a lot of them are similar, we can transfer some of the base animations around and save time that way, and then tweak the sort of attitude and proportions. And also because it's easier because we can just get up and walk it. Now, if I have to do like a, you know, a 4-leg or a 8-legged spider thing, you know, I can't really just get up and like move. How would a spider move? No, I've got to like really think about it, or watch a bunch of videos or something like that. So it's both. I mean, people are more critical about those things, but at the same time, you know, there's more resources available for us to use.
Is there any particular kind of animation that you're developing that's specific to Stargate that you've never developed before?
Well,
like
I mean,
the squiggly movements of a symbiote or something.
There will be. We're going to do a symbiote, which is exciting. We're supposed to do that pretty soon. And you know, the Jaffa, you know, with their pouches and everything. I haven't done. I've done a little bit of staff combat. I mean, there's more staff stuff, but the firing from the staff is new, and because a lot of the people are human. I mean, it is pretty standard. But when you get to the Asgard and stuff, I've never done anything like that, so that'll be really exciting.
Well, that's really a level playing field. We've never even seen them fire a weapon.
Right.
So, and we've only seen one shot once in season 7. So, yeah, it's I remember you contacting me a few weeks ago wanting to know where the switch on a staff weapon was.
Right.
I thought it was really great. That detail.
I mean, people are going to notice those things, you know. And I personally, you know, I respect what it is, and I think, you know, we're doing Stargate, so we need to do that kind of thing. So, and also, you know, it's important to get it right, just for in case, you know, other people at the company are going to see that later and say, oh, go back to it or whatever. But you know, if we have time to figure that stuff out and we're at the point where we can put that in, then yeah, absolutely. Like, I like to find that stuff out and make sure we're accurate in those accounts, because they do. It has a trigger.
Right. Now,
whether or not they're always consistent with that stuff in the show is a different story.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's, I mean, like Chris Judge, you know, he's always firing the staff weapon differently. Sometimes he'll hold it with 2 hands at his waist or over. Yes. Yeah. Or like in
or he'll tape 2 together and spin around and
this is true.
Somehow firing them both. Yeah.
And hitting people with them.
And you know, there probably in our game sometimes the handle will be in the wrong spot because of the blending or something like that. But, you know, the point is we'll try.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be pretty sick to be that minute about it. Like, they didn't get that right. The staff weapon's misplaced.
Push the trigger. Yeah. Well, an old version of the staff that we had, you know, the hands were like way up on it. Didn't even have, like, it wasn't even right. It was very funny. So yeah, I mean, I think that's that's not going too far. The trigger on the staff. So, but yeah, I mean, I want it to be Stargate. You know, I want it to be something else. So.
Okay. Are you pleased with the progress that your team has made so far?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And these guys, you know, this is their first, you know, real game job, and they are absolute pros already. It's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I couldn't have 3 better animators. It's really been easy to kind of just give them stuff and let them do it, you know, and they're really good about feedback and really good about working together, you know, and sort of like unifying the look of all the characters and stuff like that. So it's been awesome.
Do you plan on playing the game?
Well, I do, because I'm making it. I'll need to play it a lot, you know, just to test it, but to look at the animations. But no, I'm
sick of it.
I'm excited to play it. I want to see, you know, there's so much going on, and there's so many people working on this and I have no idea a lot of times what other people are working on, you know, what other departments are doing. And I go and I walk around just to see that, to get a glimpse of the art and some of the content, and I read some of the stories. But, you know, I'll never be able to get as much of it as if I play it. So I'm excited to play, because there'll be things in there, you know, that I won't know. That I didn't know were in there, but that I know the people that made it, so that'll be exciting in that aspect. But I also don't play a lot of MMOs. I just never got into them, but I have played some, and I like what we're doing here. A lot of the things, how we're doing a lot of things differently, and I want to see if it, you know, how it works, if I get more into it and stuff like that. So I'm interested in seeing, you know, what we create, but I'm also just seeing if it's fun. So, and it looks like it's going to be so.